G'day everybody, welcome back to another episode of Crafted by Tim. Today we're going to be talking about lighters. During World War I, soldiers used to make their own lighters in the trenches. And they would make these things out of pretty well anything. Anything that they could get their hands on. From scrap steel, scrap brass, and even bullet shells. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make your own trench lighter. You will need some Zippo lighter fluid, a Zippo wick, a cotton bud, a little bit of brass strip, some copper piping. This one is, I believe, 10mm in diameter and just over 8.5 centimeters long. Some pocket watch chain. This I've actually tempered a little bit, so it's kind of blued. About 15 centimeters or so of this. 3 M5 by 15mm screws, bolts, an M5 tap. You won't need a die, just a tap. Some very fine wire. 2 Bic lighters. Some multi-purpose 3-in-1 oil. A 10 to 15 centimeter long steel rod with a diameter of 4mm. You will also need a soldering iron or a oxyacetylene torch or blowtorch, something like that. Some solder. Mine's just simple wiring, wiring solder. And last but not least, you will need a 357 Magnum cartridge and a 30-30 Winchester cartridge. You can also use a 30-06 or a 270. A larger round will work better than the 30-30 round, but it is really up to you on what you decide to use. There will be some other things that you'll need, but I will go over those as I need them myself. So, to start off with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this piece of copper piping into a 4mm piece of copper piping that will become the reservoir for the flint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 4mm spring steel rod. I actually pulled this out of a mattress, out of the frame of a mattress. I'm going to slide it through, and as I crush this, I'm going to keep it elevated. I'm going to crush this in the vise. I'm going to keep it elevated to make sure that I get the shape that I want. For this next part, I need to remove this spark wheel in here. Basically just find something that's small enough to fit in between one of these gaps. Yeah. So there's my spark wheel. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find out where I want this wheel to sit. I'm thinking right about there. So it's just above the copper and it's not coming in contact. I want to figure out where I want my axle to go through, and I'll drill that out with a, I believe, 1mm. Yeah, 1.5mm drill bit, sorry. This is about the 5th time I've tried to do this brass bit at the top, because every time I do it, it just breaks. After breaking about half a dozen of them, I'm finally at this point where my spark wheel sits in there fine, it spins reasonably easily, and it fits on top. So after a little bit of trying with the soldering iron wasn't getting hot enough. I need to get the copper hotter. For this, I knew that I had to get a blowtorch. However, I don't actually have access to a blowtorch, but I do have access to something that I've been using as a blowtorch for a bunch of different things, whether it be gluing, hinges and that sort of thing, or just general other blowtorchy sort of things. I have a gas stove. Alright, really sorry about that guys, but don't worry, there will be some more soldering, so you will get to see how I do it properly. I'm going to show you guys a little bit of a trick now. When I started off this project, I said that I would be using some of these M5 by 15mm metric bolts, zinc plated. Unfortunately, I can't use zinc plated ones because they won't work the way that I want them to, and this is how I want them to work. You might be able to see that it's a slightly different color. This is actually got a brass plating on it. As you can see, the backside is still silver, still steel. So what I had to do is I had to go out and get some of these, which are 316 stainless steel, and they're just 5mm longer. That's pretty well the only difference. So I'm going to teach you guys how to plate one of these bolts with brass. So what you're going to need is a pair of pliers, a very hot heat source. Once again, I'll be using the stove. And you'll need a wire brush. Now it has to be a brass wire brush. Alright, so for this next part I actually have to go to a friend's house because, fun fact about Australian law, if you do not hold a gun license, you cannot legally own bullet shells. And because I don't have a gun license, I'm not allowed to own bullet shells. So I gotta go to my friend's house to basically use his shop to make the following parts. And yeah. Okay, so I didn't actually realize that this had happened until after I'd finished the project, but basically all I did was, you see in here, the primer is missing. Basically, whilst I was at my friend's house, I basically popped out the primers, and then I drilled out the primer hole with a 4.2mm drill bit, tapped them, and that was for both. Basically finished. All I got to do is do a final assembly. Now for the flint, it's pretty well straightforward. I took the flint from my Bic lighter, as you can see here, and then remember that 4mm rod that we used at the beginning? Well, I cut 2cm sections of that, and then I took a spring out of one of those clicky pens, and it will go in this order. So first up, the flint, shake that a little bit so it clicks down. Then I go one 4mm rod, the spring, last 4mm rod, and then I use the bolt in the bottom here to tighten everything up. Okay, then we put in the wick. If I break off the cotton bud on the outside, you can see what the inside is made up of, and that's just basically some string. And what I've done is I've wrapped some of this very fine wire around basically a piece of string, and I wrapped about 3 pieces of wire around it, and you end up with something that looks quite similar to that. I'm actually going to use a Zippo branded wick. You could probably get these for about 80 cents on the internet. That's the Zippo wick there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unroll my cotton bud. I'm going to spread it apart a little bit. Now I'm going to take my wick and place it about 1/2 centimeter above one end. Now my bullet shell is actually kind of small, so I'm going to take off about 1/3 of the cotton bud. Start rolling it back up, and as I've done one roll, I'm going to loop this back up. Now you might be able to notice that it's a little bit too big to fit. My way of fixing that is to put some wire on the outside, and I'll kind of clamp it all down, cinch it all up. As you can see, fits in there pretty damn snug. There you have it. Now, if you try it out now, it doesn't work. So how do you make it work? Well, you got to add some fuel. Now there's 3 different ways that you can do this. You can take it out, and you can put it on like that, or you can put it in straight in through the top. The last way is you can unscrew this nut at the bottom of this. Chuck the cap on for this. And you can pour it in this way. Now, if everything's worked out, should light pretty well first try. Okay, that was the third try, but I think we need some cool shots. Thank you everybody so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit that like button as it helps me out a great deal in trying to figure out what you guys enjoy watching. Please also consider subscribing, as that helps my channel grow. And maybe leave a comment, give me some suggestions. I love hearing your suggestions. And yeah, cheers.
We threw our hearts into the sea, forgot all of our memories.